Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. It is What's Up Wednesday.
What's
Woo,
up,
woo, woo, woo. And we have two of our favorite people with us who we have asked back specifically to share the brilliance that they have put out to the world since we started all this. Ming Shelby and Nicole Simonin were with us, months ago. I think we talked to both of you. And since then, you have put out some really cool new products to the world. We loved what you told us the first time, and you are the living epitome of what it means to be brilliantly resilient. So thanks for coming back and sharing your stories.
Thanks for having us.
Jinx. So both of you, we didn't teach them how to do that in harmony. We're gonna have them sing in harmony a little bit later.
That wasn't in the production meeting.
It was not in the meeting.
Production meeting.
13-second production meeting. Are you going to bring us in, or am I going to bring us in? Okay.
Okay, good.
So when we talked to you both a while back, we heard your stories about being brilliantly resilient, and I have to tell you, I am writing our first book on our Brilliantly Resilient book, and I pulled quotes from both of you out in the beginning of that book, and the quote that I pulled out for Ming was, "I can do better, I deserve better." And the quote that I pulled out from Nicole, I'm saying Simone, like you're saying, from Nicole was, "We have a choice. We can either get knocked out, we can get stunned, or we can get up again." And they were just like, I was, as I'm writing this, I'm like, these girls are brilliant. And I'm writing your stuff and talking about you. So I want you both to share with us a little bit about your journeys and where you've been since then. So I really don't care who starts. I'll leave it up to you two to duke it out.
Ming, go ahead. You can go first.
I was going to say, Nicole, do you want to go first?
All right, we're powerful women here.
Somebody
Pause,
shoot. All right,
so
no,
Ming, you started a podcast. You started something completely brand new for you, and I love the name of it.
I did. Okay, wait 1 second.
Oh, do we have a graphic here? Do we have
Grab
a thing?
prop over here. And this is from Trader Joe's. It has janky tape on it because I have it part of my vision board. And right? So it says, if you want something you never had, you have to do something you've never done. And so this quote from this cute little card from Trader Joe's with all my janky tape all over it really helped me as I was launching my podcast called Courage Up. And so the podcast, I have a different guest every week sharing their stories of courage, really similar to Brilliantly Resilient. And the feedback has been really amazing of guests listening and saying, wow, I never thought that I could do that. It was really helpful to hear her story too. And the impact that it's had, I'm just amazed. The first week that I launched, there were over 1,000 downloads.
Wow. Oh gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know this many people. Where are they going?
Who is listening to this?
Yeah, like who? I'm like, my mom, my husband, my twins aren't listening like that, So it's been so cool watching the impact it's had on other people, and that has helped me stay focused. Like, this is the right thing to be doing at the right time, and I'm just really grateful that people are feeling impacted by it.
Awesome. All right, yeah. Well, we're going to deep dive into some questions about the whole Brilliantly Resilient process, but let's hear now about Nicole, that you've got a cookbook out, right?
I do. It's been in the works for a while. So there's mine, the No Fuss, No Mess.
Beautiful. I love the cover of it and the colors. We're in the same page.
We are. Shape It Up is orange and yellow. So yeah, the cookbook's kind of, like I said, I had compiled recipes probably about 3 years ago because I hate food logging. I can't stand it. And I find myself constantly going back to food logging just because I'm very much like a data person. Like, I can see, I know exactly when I eat this and I know what's going to happen to my body, that kind of thing. But realistically speaking, most people don't want to food log for the rest of their lives. So what the cookbook is, it is not for the chef. So like if you want to be the next Iron Chef, that cookbook is definitely not for you.
Know your audience. That's
yes.
one of the things you have to do. Know your audience.
Yeah, I have to wash, well, I don't have to, but I wash the dishes by hand. Long story short, my dishwasher doesn't work, so now we use it to hold party items. And so like when I cook, I don't want to have to be in the kitchen for 6 hours cooking and cleaning and all that. I'm just not, like, I want to make the food, be done with it, and then use it throughout the week. So these recipes are really for someone who wants fast, quick meals. There's a bonus in the cookbook that you can get meal templates from me, and a smoothie book also. And that, if you use that, if your goal is to lose weight, then you just follow the meal templates and you just follow the recipes. And like I said, they are so easy and so simple to do. So that's been something I've had in the works for a while. And I was like, you know what? COVID is the best time to be productive. That and the podcast, I started in January, and I had both you guys on the podcast, which I loved. And I've been doing 2 podcasts a week. One is fitness, nutrition, mindset, and the second one is interviewing people. And it's just been amazing. Like everyone has a story, and you guys know that from interviewing everyone. And it's just fascinating to hear everybody's story behind, other than like, hey, my name is this and this is what I do. And I actually was interviewed for someone in Sweden yesterday to be on a podcast. So I was like, I'm going international.
International. Woo!
About that.
How fun is that?
Yeah. I was joking, saying I want to be the David Hasselhoff of when Germany, when he was. I know I'm dating myself there, but like.
I know what you mean, Nicole. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't know who David Hasselhoff is, do you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I do, and I do know how popular he is in Germany.
Oh, okay.
No, I was being for real.
But you're right. You are dating yourself, Nicole. I'm just going to put that out.
I know.
As far as back as Mary Fran goes, though. Mary Fran said something about howdy doody to me yesterday. I was like, wow. And you wonder why I ripped all over that whole thing.
I don't watch Howdy Doody. I'm not quite that old. Anyway, you have both. You both just epitomized the whole idea about brilliantly resilient. And I think one of the things that we heard from both of you when we talked to you, Nicole, you just kind of reiterated it, was, hey, you know what? We're in this place right now, and it's time to get it done. And I think one of the things about this, a lot of people have spent a lot of time complaining about this time, and of course it's awful, the toll that it's taken and all of those things, but we do have a choice where we can sit around and whine and moan and talk about how miserable things are, or we can go, all right, you know what, this is what it is right now, what can I make out of this? So how did you both just decide, hey, this is it, I'm going for it?
Nicole, you go first.
Oh, we're gonna go first. Should I raise my hand? Yeah, I tend to flip-flop back and forth between, there was a time, I don't know when it was, but I was like, every day for a month, I'm gonna do something that scares me. And not to the point, like I'm not jumping out of planes or anything like that, but that's kind of how I feel. Like I try to really, especially since January, I feel like the podcast was something where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. How's this going to go? And I was just like, you only learn from actually doing stuff. You can think all you want about all the scenarios that might happen and who knows, but until you actually step out and do it, then you learn. You're either succeeding or you're learning. There's no failure. You just keep plugging along. So my mindset was like, look, I don't have to drive the kids to soccer. I don't have to do all these other things where I'm running around. So I might as well make use of my time. And virtually, it's awesome that we have this technology now, because, I don't know, 20 years ago, who knows what we'd be doing? We'd be, I don't know.
Eating a lot.
Eating a lot.
I'm in desperate need of the cookbook that you actually just published. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, no problem.
Ming, how about you?
For me, I was thinking about launching the podcast for a while, but I could never find time.
Yeah, don't you love that phrase?
Yeah. And so it was actually after appearing on your show, I was like, oh, I put it out there. Like, I'm really going to do it. So it was a jump start for me to actually make it happen. And like Nicole said, I didn't have a commute to work anymore. I was working from home. My mother-in-law was so gracious and watched my boys for me. So I just found time to be really purposeful with it instead of scrolling through social media or Netflix. I did not binge watch any shows during quarantine. I would just kept going at it because I was like, I put this out there. I really want to make it happen, and let's do it.
And that's
awesome.
Exactly it. That's what Kristen and I ended up doing. Yeah, we had that same experience because, you know, we were gonna be on a world tour by now. We were taking over every country. We were going to be
with David Hasselhoff in Germany.
That's right.
And Nicole in Sweden.
But Nicole actually attended the event that we had in March, at the very beginning of March, which was the week before the whole world shut down. And we had these big plans, and we're going to do this, we're going to take it here, we're going to take it there. And we're right after the thing, we're sharing, you know, have a glass of wine, we're clinking each other and toasting each other. And the next week, everything was gone. We were like, oh my God, now what do we do? And then it was kind of like,
we're toasting, and God's like this. Oh, just wait.
Yeah. Yeah, but you guys came around. I mean, you know, you didn't just give up. You started this whole, I mean, the fact that you've done live shows every day for how many days? Like 1,600 billion days? That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So maybe your world tour is virtual.
Well, that, and you know what, that's kind of what we kind of did. You look at what you have in front of you. And in fact, Kristen and I were just talking about this right before we got on with you guys. And you know, when something is broken, and we talk about this a lot, you can put it back together. It's not going to look the same, but it's like my grandkids now are into Legos, and we're doing everything with Legos and all this other kind of stuff. And you know, you just take a piece off and you put something else in its place, and you see if that's workable. Again, without being married to what the end product is going to be, because who the heck knows? I mean, our end product was going to be one thing, and then a week later it was completely gone. So you jump in the pool, and you both did that.
Let me ask you this though: what for all the folks that they didn't reset yet, or they're resetting and they want to take that action step to, I mean, because you guys put yourselves out there. You're in a very vulnerable spot where you did a creative thing where a lot of people could get their eyes and ears on, and that opens you up to all of that, oh gosh, you know, criticism can come and all that. So it's not like you just were working on your website or put a business plan together that nobody knew about. So, and it's actually, it falls perfectly on Ming's podcast title. Where did the courage come from to do that? If somebody's just not wanting to take that action step, where'd you get the courage?
You can go first, Ming.
Well, I just thought, what do I have to lose at this point? Like, we're in a pandemic. We've never experienced this before as a country, as a world. So why not put a little bit of positivity out there, a little bit extra dose of courage, and really just go for it. Like Nicole said earlier, when you go for it, that's when you actually learn. And it's not failure. It's learning. And the first step is just doing it. And sometimes that's the scariest step. But then the more you do it, the more exciting and rewarding and fulfilling it feels to live into your purpose, to do what you're meant to do. But I agree that first step is the biggest step of courage, in my opinion. But just do it.
Just do it. Just go for it.
Yeah, I think that's that just kind of crystallizes everything, because the truth of the matter is we can't know how anything is going to go. We can only know what we put into it. And then the variables of, you know, other people's reactions and what else is going on in the world and all those other things are going to come into play. So if you sit and wait for it to be perfect, for the perfect time to do it, it's just never, ever going to happen. So, you know, done is better than perfect. Get it out there, and then you tweak it as you go along. And so have you both found that you've been doing that, like tweaking things here and there as you go along through the process?
No, it's perfect, Mary.
Of course it
Up
is.
till 2 a.m. editing a podcast on Sunday night.
That's your first mistake. Kristen and I never edit anything. We just go, yep, we're done. Click, put it up. We don't care.
Yeah.
I think one thing too, Mary Fran, what you said just resonated with me so much is a year from now, if I were to look back at this time, would I be proud of how I showed up and what I produced? And a year from now, do I want to say that I'm still in the same place? And I just wouldn't feel right with myself with that. That's not in line with my values. So getting the podcast out there and really sharing my message is so important. So sorry, Nicole, go ahead.
It's okay. I'm just listening. Yeah, same thing. Like, I feel like, I know, I think I talked about this on your podcast before, but like, I don't know if it's like, I was a ballet dancer, so I don't know if like perfectionists or like that drive to just be better or do better is just ingrained in me, or like I'm constantly trying to level up. And for me, like average and mediocrity is not what I want to go through life doing. Like not that I need to be David Hasselhoff in Germany, but like, like I feel like there's something, you know, when we have dreams, there's a reason why you have dreams. There's a reason why you have aspirations. And I feel like the reason we're put on this earth, regardless of who you believe or what you believe, I feel like we have, you know, the ambition is to drive us to do something and to help other people. And if we just sit back and watch the world pass by, like I want to go out of this world leaving something, even if it's not like the biggest impact on the face of the earth, but like just even helping people. That's how I feel like I want to just keep leveling up. I don't want to be average. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know, it's been interesting, I think, because a lot of people saw this as at least initially, I think people looked at this whole idea of a quarantine as, oh, everything's going to stop and the world's going to stop and we're not going to be able to do anything. And I have found, and Kristen's found, and I would say you two probably agree, that it's ended up being one of the most productive and creative times because all of the old constraints are gone. Like it doesn't matter. Everybody's figuring this out as we go. So yeah, there are no rules at this point. So you jump in and you create, and if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, you tweak it. And it's just, I think for me, it's been very gratifying to be able to just go, you know what, we're just going to try this and put it out there and not really worry about how it's received. You want it to be received well, but if it isn't, I told this story last weekend. My granddaughter we were doing something at the beach and she was dumping sand on something that she wanted and she goes, well, that didn't work. And then she just dropped it and she tried something else. So like, that's the attitude we have to have now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't step out of their comfort zone because they're afraid of what other people are going to think or say. And I think getting past that, like I know for me, I keep reiterating the thought, like if I don't have trolls or I don't have people saying negative things, then I'm not making an impact. And to that point, like not everybody is my audience. You know, there's certain people that are going to resonate with me, and then there's certain people that are not. So, and that's okay. That's the way the world works, you know.
Yeah. You don't want everybody in the boat.
No, we'll think.
You don't want everybody in the boat.
Yeah. But you were saying about not being perfect. I'll be honest with you, the cookbook, when I first put it out, I launched it that day that I completed it, and it was what I consider B- work. And I was like, I just want to get it out. And I went online and I looked at the ebook version and I was like, oh, this is crap. I literally spent the next day 12 hours redoing the entire book and then uploading it again. So like you just gotta do what, I was determined. I was like, there's no way I'm putting this out here like that. So yeah.
Wait, so the ebook you were able to load, take down and reload a new one. There you go, people. Get the ebooks out there. If you find something wrong with it, you can just turn around and go reload. I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah, the published version, I actually just pulled my published version because this book has black and white pictures and I wanted colored pictures. So I had to actually unpublish the entire book and then reload it, and which is really not that complicated. It sounds like it's hard.
It's not. I
yeah.
know. It's amazing how easy the technology makes things for us. And so now, so Ming, did you have any experience with the whole podcasting thing, or you were just like, I'm just going to try this?
Well, like I said, everything was perfect. Mary Fran. No, I've had no experiences podcasting. I have like this janky microphone that I was using, recording in the closet, and almost every single interview I re-recorded. The one with Ailey that you listened to, Nicole, that was our 4th or 5th recording. Because the first one, I'm like, oh, I just didn't ask the right questions, because I was like, oh, podcasting will be so fun. It's just me talking to my friends. Like, I like having conversations, but I was like, wait, being an interviewer is different. Like,
oh yeah,
asking the right questions. And Kristen and Mary Fran, you guys do it so artfully. I was like, yeah, okay, I could do that. And I'm like, oh, I should have asked this question instead, or this would have been a better segue, or I was just doing all sorts of weird things on my end. So I asked all my guests, I'm like, can we re-record? So
did you really?
I did. So during that launch,
You're so funny.
I re-recorded like
I don't re-record anything.
every single one I re-recorded, because I didn't feel like I got to the root of their story. Like, I felt like, oh, they're just listening to us. I didn't really like pinpoint it, and I wanted to do a better job for the audience. So.
Oh, I like that. Well, yeah, for who you're serving. But okay, so we do have to back up for a second with Mary Fran and I. Our disclaimer though is we were on another podcast with 2 other women.
Yes. Yeah,
for,
we were.
What, 2 years?
Yes.
We already
so we had a lot of time leading up to it. And
by your expert level, yeah. Mm-hmm.
To your point, you do have to be thoughtful about it, because as with anything else, you know in your head how you want it to go, but the reality when it happens and when you're adding that variable of another person, so we did come up with a format that we send, to everybody. Here's how the show goes. And I mean, we don't stick to it religiously, but it does give us a framework. Yeah. So it is a balance though, trying to find that way of letting the conversation evolve, but making sure you get to the heart of what you want that person to share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you have to bring it out of them.
Yeah, and we had all that practice, and we, quite frankly, you guys did this independently on your own. It all falls on your shoulders. Us, I'm like, if we screw up an episode, I just can blame Mary Fran.
So if we mess up, can we blame you too, Mary Fran?
Yeah, go for it. At this point, I don't even care. Knock yourselves out. But, there is something to be said about that, because we did, when we started with the other podcast, everybody kind of took a chunk of it. You guys take that on by yourself. That's a lot of work. So kudos to both of you. It is a lot of work, and make no mistake, we joke about it and all that, but it is not easy to do this, and to do it consistently, and to do it well. So, congrats to both of you for putting that time in. It takes time and commitment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So we hear all the great stuff that happened. What are some of the challenges that you came up against and then had to, we only have time for a few.
Yeah. Because we could talk
well, Ming didn't have any challenges, right?
I mean, aside from the printing and the uploading, what other, in terms of putting it from start to finish, how many times did you get derailed? Were there sucker punches along the way there that you had to reset yet again?
You can go first, Ming.
Nicole, I think you're up now.
Oh, I'm up?
Yeah, I think if we're sharing, I think it's you
now. Podcast-wise, I feel like sometimes certain guests, I don't know, if I had to do it over again, there's maybe 1 or 2 that I'll be like, maybe I shouldn't have had them on, just because I felt like I was pulling the conversation, or maybe it was not relevant or something like that. But at the same time, I think, maybe it's helping somebody, at least one other person. Yeah, I podcast wise, I hate to say it, I haven't had too many issues other than
Look who's perfect now.
yeah. I would say editing. I have learned, like, initially, it took me forever to edit, and I've done YouTube videos, a number of years, so I knew how to edit, but I think the time frame that it took, like, podcasting was like, so much shorter, but because I do put the podcast on a video as well, I think just trying to get that timing down of like, okay, like kind of like what you guys is like, it's a half-hour podcast, we're sticking to that, even though I don't always stick to it because just the editing part, and I know you guys don't edit, but like there's some things that need to be edited.
There should be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the right thing that we do. I'm just saying that's what we do.
Well, when you have guests like us, Nicole, there's not much editing.
No, it's perfect.
Smooth sailing.
So the technical parts of it, and I think this is the other thing that as far as the whole brilliantly resilient stuff goes, that may not be your wheelhouse. It's not my wheelhouse. I mean, thank God Kristen does that part of it, and I do my part of it. But when we talk about being brilliantly resilient, you can't always be in your place of brilliance. There's some stuff that you just have to do. But as long as you can manage to do the basics of it and get the stuff out there, then your brilliance, as long as you're being true to that ends up taking over. And I think that's what makes both of your podcasts land. So what did you experience as far as all that stuff goes, Ming?
I think you just summed it right up, Mary Fran. There were so many challenges with, like, I didn't know what an RSS feed was, or like submitting it to all the places and then creating a cover that is really eye-catching and all of that stuff. And, when it comes down to it, I really thought, what is my content and how do what is my purpose and goal? And I just want the message of we can all courage up so that we can live in a more courageous world. And how amazing would that be if everyone just had a little bit more of courage? So as I was interviewing people, I really wanted to get to that meat of it. And if it was just like that one line that people got out of it, then I felt like, okay, like this is worth it. All the time and all of that is totally worth it. And, of course, like I'm in the closet, I've locked the door to the room, the door to the closet, and somehow my kids still bust in on the interview. And I'm like, okay.
That's part of you being authentic, Ming. You just got to own those moments. My authentic self.
Right. And, we're also in this might be a mowing the lawn topic that I'm going on now.
Go for it.
But, we're in a time right now where our professional world and our personal world are mixing for the first time, and people are getting to know all of us. And I think that is strengthening our connection to each other, that it's not just, this perfect, brilliantly resilient conference or course that Kristen and Mary Fran are, but like, here's how they are human in so many ways. And I can connect with that. I can connect with mowing the lawn. I can connect with kids playing Legos and whatnot. So
yeah. You know, what's funny that you just said that? We just recorded what's going to come out soon is our first paid webinar on our, like, the beginning of the programming online course that we're doing. And Mary Fran, who always says, don't be married to the outcomes, we were, self-proclaimed extraordinarily brilliant on this thing. We were like, we got in a zone on it. I can't wait for everybody to see it because it was like we were back on stage because we've been doing this format for so long. I felt like we were on stage and actually had people. We were going, and then we realized there was like 3 slides that we never advanced. We got so into it. But it ended up working out that I just felt like, oh my gosh, people are going to think that they are in the room with us in a live situation where it's really us. It's just, and we just rolled with it and made it work. I think it actually even worked better. And then we sat afterwards and we're like, do we go back and re-record it? I'm like, don't re-record it. I want to see where it lands. Because just to what you said, Ming, I feel like people are really going to be engaged and connecting because of the way that it was not, so production perfect. It was
the part where I said, well, I didn't swear, but I said, then I forgot to advance the slide. That part. That
Maybe
part.
I was just euphorically happy because it wasn't me that screwed it up
I
this
think,
time.
I think you were. I'll claim it. I will claim it. But to
worked
Kristen's
out.
point, that happened because we were so into the conversation. And I think Ming and Nicole, both of you, what you recognize and what you keep coming back to is, what's my purpose? What's my mission? What am I trying to share with people? And all those other things that aren't perfect, just allow the rest of the world to see us, that we're human. Look, Kristen and I say all the time, we're doctors of nothing. We have nothing completely figured out. We just don't. But we do have moments of brilliance that we know can help other people. And if we can be true to that, then everybody levels up, courage is up, rises up, all those things. So I think you're both spot on in acknowledging that, it's not smooth. It's not, this is just real, but here's what we want you to know and what you're delivering to your audience.
Yeah.
I think the days of like starchy perfectionists, like business type movies and stuff are, being brought out. I think people are a little skeptical of those too, like they're fake. And I think that definitely authenticity, if I could say the word authenticity, is like, is more relevant nowadays, especially with all the live videos and, people just videotaping on the spot. And I think that's what we need, especially in a world of technology. We need that personal interaction rather than just, I'm a robot and this is what I'm offering today.
I'm thinking about, you guys know of Pencils of Promise, the organization, and the book was The Promise of a Pencil, and it's Adam Braun, if I'm remembering right. And he just decided to do this whole, he's funding schools around the world, and the book Pencils of Promise, of how he built this organization, and it had such a far reach, has nothing to do with like social media or any of that, but he has all these tips in it. And his thing the through line of the whole thing is, when you have an unwavering commitment to your mission, doesn't matter the obstacle that comes along, you figure it out, because you're so, like you guys said, you're so dedicated to the person on the other end and getting the content to them that it's going to make such an impact that you just keep motoring through. And I'm so glad it worked out that there was the two of you guys on today, because they're so similar in journeys and the things that you're doing. It's good stuff.
So I want to just ask you a question, Ming. I know Nicole has been in the fitness world for a long time. That's been her profession. How did you center on this Courage Up thing? I mean, we talked about it on the other podcast, but let's circle back to that.
Yeah, so I was working on courage in the classroom. That was the big thing of how do we build courageous students? Because we were talking about like the four 21st century skills and the 4 C's. I don't know if, we're talking about creativity, like problem solving, all this stuff. And I'm like, how can any of this be possible without courage for students? And so that was the big thing I was working on. And as I was developing professional development trainings for teachers on how to build courage in the classroom, they were like, how do I model this? How do I?
How do I do it? Never mind the kids. Help me.
Right. Like, oh, right. And, I talked about my year of courage. And so it just felt like we could all use a little extra dose of courage and to support each other, to lift each other, not to outdo each other, but to be together. Like I just love that saying. I think I said it on your show last time, was rising tide lifts all boats, right? So if we're all a little bit more courageous, then it allows all of us to just lift and support each other up.
Well, you guys have been such a treat today, and I know everybody's going to love this What's Up Wednesday episode. I'm always so happy that we can go back and hear these really true life stories from people that we have brought to our audience, who just, as I said, totally epitomize what it means to be brilliantly resilient. So thank you for coming back and sharing your stories with us. And both of you, please tell us where we can find you. Nicole, where can we reach you and get the book and all of that?
You can go to shapeitupfitness.com and you can find everything there. Podcast, book, everything.
Okay, Ming, you're up.
You can find me on mingshelby.com or come follow me on Instagram at Ming Shelby, Facebook, Ming Shelby, all the Ming Shelbys. And then tune in to Courage Up Podcast on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Awesome.
Thank you both so much. This has been such a delight. So everybody check that out. Kristen will be putting the links up because she does that part of it and I don't. So she'll be putting all the pertinent information up there. Thank you both for joining us and sharing your brilliance with us. And everybody, we will see you next time on Brilliantly Resilient Live.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.